Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Surprise, it's just me tonight. Just me. Rabbi is away. I think it's a family bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah or something like that, which is wonderful. He was able to squeeze that in, and I'm happy to be here, and I'm sure you guys are excited about this Jews of all Jews, Romania, right? Some of them so far have just been amazing. Last month we were in Uruguay, the month before that Italy, and then Ukraine and Morocco and something in between, Mexico, oh my. So we do have some really special things tonight. We are hearing from Melania. Melania, where are you? Just make sure you're there. All right, so it will be hectic for me. I'll be calling off the pages and speaking a little bit and also singing. So first up, I think I would like to call up Bruce for the official welcome.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. There we go. So I begin tonight with some sad news, actually. And as we travel the world of Judaism, tonight we're mourning the loss of one of our very long-time members, whose story of Kristallnacht, surviving Kristallnacht, was part of our tradition for so many years. Ruth Lansing passed away today. Not at all unexpected. Tom, if you're watching, you know our thoughts are with you and the family. But Ruth's story of surviving that night, I mean, how many of you remember hearing her tell that story here? It was an important part of our tradition. So tonight we're hearing about Melania's journey from Romania to Western New York. But we're thinking of someone who made a similar journey, Ruth from Germany, eventually landing in Western New York, and someone who shared that story with us for many, many years. So again, one of the founding members of Temple Beth Am, she and Eric were around for a very, very long time. So again, I'm sorry to begin with sad news, but it's important news that this is a very important part of this temple's past that we are remembering tonight. And we are, of course, again, looking forward to hearing Melania. Those of us, who's heard Melania's story before, by the way? It is fascinating, and
She's not saying that tonight.
What? You're not telling your story?
No, she doesn't want to.
Oh, man. Okay, well, another time. Anyway, it's always very interesting to hear Melania talk, and I'm looking forward to it. And we have a lot of stuff coming up in the coming days. Very, very busy time for the temple. So I'll be back later with the announcements and fill you in on everything. We have 5 things happening just this weekend alone. So it's a very, very busy time. So Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom. You're that much taller than me?
I think I am.
Yeah.
I said that.
Testing.
Hugging Eddie because I feel tall.
Let's turn to page 128 for Hine Matov, an old melody. Over on piano tonight we have Ivan Dotsenko, and over on fiddle presenting in just a short while is Gregory Dotsenko. Together they form the Dotsenko brothers. All right, let's come in together, everyone. We're in good hands tonight. All right, I would like to call up Evie and Ronnie and anyone else from the Adult Education Committee. We'd like to come up and light the candles and say Kiddush tonight. We're starting on page 120. Page 123, please stay up for the Kiddush. You didn't escape. We turn to page 125. Evie will lead us in a reading.
Where is the sweet vanished? It is lost forever. Will I ever recover anything from it? The joy of life, the unexpected victory, the realized hope, the task accomplished. Will I ever be able to banish the memory of pain, soon defeat the heaviness of boredom? On this day, let me keep for a while what must drift away. On this day, let me be free from the burdens that must return. On this day, Shabbat. Help me to withdraw for a while from the fight of time, contain the retreat of the hours and days from the grasp of frantic life. Let me learn to pause, if only for this day. Let me find peace on this day. Let me enter into a quiet world this day. On this day, Shabbat.
We turn to page 128 for Lecha Dodi. We're going to do verses 1, 2, and 9 today. And when I kind of go like this, when we reach the 9th verse, which will only be our third, because we're only doing 1, 2, and 9, we're going to face the doorway to greet the Sabbath bride. Page 138. 138. Did I say another page? Which one? 120. Oh, those are the candles. Page 138. 138. Yes, that is a Chadadi from the old country. It is truly an Ashkenazic melody. We remain standing. Turn to page 146 for the Baruch Hu. 146. Page 148. Let's read in Hebrew. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim v'chochma poteach she'arim uvitvunav t'saneh itim umhalif et hazmanim umsader et hakochavim b'mishmerotehem berakia kirtzono Borei yom v'layla golel or mipnei choshech v'choshech mipnei or hama'avir yom umevi layla umavdir ben yom uvein layla Adonai tzvaot shemo el chai v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed Baruch atah Adonai Hama'ariv Aravim. We turn to page 151, and Evie will lead us in a reading Wisdom and Wonder, it's called. We are honoring some members of our Adult Education Committee for all the hard work that they do.
Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol. All these things your Torah gives to us, and the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works and the living language that gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai Ohev Amo Yisrael.
152, 153. Please remain standing if you're able to. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod, Malchuto, Please be seated. We turn to page 154 for the Ve'ahavta. Ve'ahavta Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'otecha ve'hayu advarim ha'ele asher Anokim mitzavcha hayom al levanecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibartam bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha u'v'lechtecha b'derech u'v'shoftecha u'v'kumecha u'kshartam le'or hayadecha ve'hayu l'totavot b'neinecha u'tatam amnezuzot etecha u'vishabrecha ve'ma'at yizkeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai Kedoshim le'Elohechem Ani Adonai Elohechem Asher atzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'Elohim Ani Adonai Elohechem. Does everyone get a leaflet? All right, so we are going to be doing from the front page, I'm going to be doing a song called the Alte Zigeuner, or the Old Romani. Does everybody know who or what Romani are, or Romani person is? Right, Zigeuner, right. Okay, so in Romania, when the Jews were allowed to live in the countryside, at one point they were removed from the countryside and sent to the cities, but when they were allowed to live in the countryside, and we're talking about hundreds of years, the gypsies, well, I shouldn't say the gypsies, I should say the Romani or the Zigeuner were also living there. And I'm going to be telling a story through music about a Jewish woman who loves to go on the hilltop by her house and listen to an old Romani play his fiddle. So let's read Who would like to come up and read for me the English translation and give my little voice a break? Who wants to volunteer? Oh, thank you, Linda. You could read along with her if you like.
Over on that hilltop, beneath those blue open skies, such a tumultuous sound resounds from there. There's a humble little shack right there on that hilltop, and old Romani lives there. There it is, listen to it, such a sound, in minor strains, from when the old Romani gets lost in his world, playing his fiddle, with such fire and burning emotion as only as a Romani could. Ah, the Romani melody is so beautiful. It sounds like nothing else. It charms your body and soul. It's like a trance that casts a mysterious witchcraft. So enticing is the melody. When the Romani plays, your heart starts to burn. The sound from the fiddle makes your soul hunger and search. Your blood cooks and boils. His fiddle strings pull on your heartstrings. It is a gift from heaven. It makes you feel good to be alive. Life feels really, really good. Ah, that is the old Romani song.
So, I'm thinking she's not that comfortable. Thank you, Linda. She really gets into this music. You have to realize this is the time, let's imagine this is in, let's say, the early 1800s or even the early 1900s, where there's no cable, there's no TV, there's no podcast, there's nothing. And she goes out there, she hears that, and she is totally captivated by this culture of traveling musicians and dancers. And so I'm going to present this little interaction between a Romani and a Yiddish Mädel. Okay? Testing. Is it taking you there? Are you there yet? Dort, auf der Bergele unter dem freien Himmel weint vor dem raschigen Sturzgetummel steht sich a Chatke Leib neu von Nord en altijd ze keine Worte dort. Dort hören sich Tennis und Sisyphus winden in mir nur. euch Liebe, in euch Leidenschaft. Hält ihr das nur ein morgetes Gerhol, zwakishet euch die Melodie. Wenn der Zigeuner Person sein Liedl in Harzgitter bringt, von sein Fiddle der Klang, der weg deine Schammes verlangt, dein Blut, es kocht eine See, sein Fiddle dem Beugen erzählt. Nimm von die Himmeln schweben, es Gott Signal zum Leben, das Leben will dann so gehen. Wenn der Zigeuner spielt zu, sein Lied in den Harzgitter bringt, von seinen Fitteln der Klang, der wird deine Schammes verlangt. Dein Blut, es kocht in der See, sein Fedel dem Beugen erzählt. Nimm von den Himmeln schweben, es klutzig noch zum Leben, das Leben wird dann so geht. Oh, das ist dem alten Romanis She was just helpless, absolutely helpless to that music. Nothing was going to save her. Did we take you to Romania yet? Yes. Let's turn to page 164 and rise, please, for the silent tefillah. You can do any of the readings between 164 and 170. And when you sit down, I know that you are finished with your prayers. Or you can have a silent meditation for yourself. send you back to the leaflet, the opposite side. Who'd like to come up and read the translation? Thank you. This is the last Yiddish piece I did was about the ultimate joy of being lost and captivated in amazing music. This is the other side of life, the sad part of life. This is a song that was written by Herman Yablokov, and probably in the 1920s. Although there's some copyrights that show 1956, but I think that's when those publishers actually got their hands on the music. And we're going to hear about the translation of the song, but then I'll tell you a little bit about his history to the words of this song.
It's a cold, foggy, dark night. A boy stands, saddened, looking around. Only a wall shelters him from the rain. He holds a little box in his hands, and his eyes beg everyone. I have no strength left in me to walk around in the street, hungry and torn up, wet from the rain. I drag around from the start, but nobody is buying. Everyone laughing and teasing me. Come, buy my cigarettes, dry. The rain has not gotten to them. Buy, these are really cheap. Buy, have pity on me. Save me from hunger. Come buy these good matches. With this you'll be saving an orphan. Forgive my shouting and my running. Nobody wants to buy from me. I'll have to go out and die like a dog.
This is probably one of the top 10 recognizable Yiddish songs, Yiddish melodies, that the words are just overwhelming. But when you hear the melody, you'll say, yes, I know that. So people have taken this melody, this text, and changed it, to fit the occasion. A lot of people have rewritten this text to reflect different political viewpoints. Herman, well, he was selling cigarettes at his youth. And then he realized at some point, when he got a little bit older that, well, I did this because I needed some extra money. I needed some money, but what if I didn't have a mom and dad, and what if I didn't have, other means for my support? And that kind of softened him to write this song. Papyrosen. Has anybody heard Papyrosen before? Thank you. Okay. Schreien an mein Läufen, keiner will bei mir nicht kaufen. Eusken will ich müssen wie heim. I'd like to invite up Melania and Ronnie, and we're going to hear a little bit about the Romanian Jewish experience. And also, I want to invite you to please look in your leaflets. There is a history of the Jews of Romania in there that Ronnie put together. Just while we're getting set up over here, I will say that there were peaceful times and there were very difficult times. Seems like every century there was either a blood libel or rioting and pillaging. But between it all, people stayed until it became too much, of course, into the 1940s and before that and then after that. But she had a wonderful life there. I've heard her story and it's really amazing.
Shabbat Shalom again, everybody. Thank you for joining us for Jews of all Hues-Romania. This is the program I've been looking forward to the most because 10 years ago, my daughter married a Romanian, born in Romania. And so I feel particularly close to this subject. His family, Ilan's family, my son-in-law's family, left in 1982 during Nicolae Ceausescu's regime. And some of his family came to the US, some to Israel, some to France, but most to Canada, which is why you guys know me, because we moved to be closer to Canada. My machapana, there's no word in English for that. It's like your in-laws brought John and me into the family with open arms, showing us a typical characteristic, attitude and characteristic of Jews of Romania. They modeled themselves on Avraham Avinu and were extremely, and always are, extremely hospitable hosts. Yet Romanian Jews are also known for not sugarcoating anything. They say what they mean, and they mean what they say. It makes you feel like you're in Israel. We've yet to travel to Romania, but my husband doesn't know this, but there's a big family trip planned next year. So next year should be our time for Romania. My son-in-law's mom told me that the country is physically exquisite, mentioning the Black Sea, the mountains, and the forests specifically. She grew up in Bacău, northeast of Bucharest, the capital. And there's still family there, all now living in Bucharest. A cousin, Erev, was the head of one of the 2 JCCs in the capital city, and he is now back doing his passion, which is theater. It's also his training. And as mentioned in the service pamphlet, and I believe Melania is going to talk about a bit, the Jewish State Theater of Bucharest is the oldest Yiddish language theater with continued performances in the whole world. And people come, not just Jews, to study Yiddish there and to learn Yiddish theater. So now I've shared my affinity for tonight's highlighted country. And so let me introduce Melania Pius to you. Melania shared with me that, like so many of us here, she was raised rather secular, and found herself Jewishly as an adult, right? Well, it was not a stroll in the park for my son-in-law's family to leave Romania. For Melania and her husband of blessed memory, it was more arduous. Details are described, Bruce alluded to that, and details are described by her on a YouTube. So if you're more curious, you can search her name on YouTube and it'll come up. So Melania, will you share with us something that you'd like to share about anything you'd like about Romania and help people understand?
Well, I don't want to make it personal. I want to tell you more about the Jews in Romania. And as Ronnie was so kind and nice, she explained in the pamphlet that Jews were in Romania since the beginning of time, since the Romans occupied Romania. And I found out about this about in 1960s when the word came out that archaeological diggings discovered Hebrew-written Jewish tombs. Yes, the Jews were there for many, many years. Jews were invited to be there and found refuge there when they were expelled from Hungary, when they were running away from Poland and Belarus pogroms, later from Russia, and even from Spain when they were in 1469 expelled from Spain. In the 17th century, they were very much appreciated, and the rulers of the principalities, the little voivodats, they invited Jewish there and provided for them free land with no taxes for synagogues and for mikvahs and for cemeteries. Jews contributed a lot to the economy of the Romanian territory and state. Despite all this, they weren't considered citizens. They were never had civil rights. Very early on, the anti-Jewish sentiment was expressed in many ways. And this was because of the commercial competition and also because the Greek Orthodox Church. Always in the church, people gather information, and they were considered that Jews were heretics, and it was sinful even to socialize with them. During the Independence War in 1877, Jewish men were recruited to fight in the war without being considered Romanian. So at the Congress in Berlin in 1877, right after the war, Romania was provided with independence with a condition to give Jews citizenship. Well, it didn't happen so fast, didn't happen so easy, and they decided to give citizenship only to the people who participated in the war and their families. And it happened that my maternal grandfather showed me a beautiful diploma where he was awarded the citizenship of Romania. So it wasn't easy, and in 1823, if I remember well, I have it written here, a constitution with the name of organic law was providing rights to authorities in different places to assess and evaluate the value of the Jews, if they were if they were valuable, to keep them. If they were not useful, to evict them, to expel them. So the life of Jewish people wasn't there too easy. Every time in history when was an economic crisis or when people felt deprived or natural events which were difficult to confront, the Jews were blamed. Around 1920, the Romanians started to flirt with Nazism and fascism, and some very smart Jews considered that it's better to leave Romania. And they were daring and started on foot. And then in different ways, they reached Canada, and they reached China, and they reached America. So they knew when to fly, when to go away. In 1940, Romania got a new law, like the Nuremberg law, a racial law, interdicting intermarriages and trying to find out who exactly was a Jew based on their grandparents, to know exactly whom to persecute, and at the same time they started the obligatory wearing of the yellow star in almost all the cities and little town in Romania, except Bucharest. My family didn't have to wear it. My father had only to go to the mandatory work programs, which they were quite demanding and at the same time demeaning. Well, 1941 was the year the most tragic and terrible for the Jews in Romania. At the beginning of the year, in January, was a pogrom in Bucharest. About 125 Jewish people were taken to Albatory, to the slaughterhouse, and were hung by their feet. And the next day the family had to go and claim them. It was a big tragedy. The Jewish community had an inkling that this might happen and tried to bribe different people, but still nobody was prepared for this. In June 1941, it was the pogrom in Iași, where about 13,000 Jews were taken and were killed, and some of them were transported in boxcars to concentration camps, and in the way they died because of suffocation or thirst. What happened in Iași is that German soldiers, Romanian soldiers, policemen, regular citizens came to the Jewish neighbors' homes, knocked at the door, killed them in their homes, or took them out on the street. And some of them were arrested, and the next day were rounded up. And some of them were killed, and as I mentioned, some of them were sent to concentration camp. Before the war, Romania had 800,000 Jews. After the war, they were about 350,000 Jews. I read about all these things recently because I didn't know too much. I am going to tell you why. And because we weren't taught at history in school. The curriculum was selected by political criteria. So thinking that less than half of the population survived made me interested to know how come that these people survived. And I read more about it on the internet, and at one point they said that the victims of the Holocaust, the Jews, were the $300,000 which were sacrificed in Romania. They were even more than they were in Germany, which I didn't know, and I don't know if you did know, and I don't know if it's the truth, but this is what I read recently. Also in 1941, all the actors were fired from the theaters, all the artistic people were fired, and in Bucharest there were 4 Yiddish theaters, and all of them, all of a sudden, were lost their licenses because Yiddish was banned in Romania. One theater, which was the main theater, the Barașeum theater, sent many petitions, and many people from the Jewish community bribed clerks from the Ministry of Culture, and they, after, I don't know, 9 or 10 months, they regained the license to put plays and musicals for the Jewish population. It was stipulated that they had to have everything they were playing in Romanian language. They have to respect the Christian holidays, and also they have to contribute to the unemployment fund of the Christian actors. This wasn't a problem. All the actors from the very famous Bucharest theaters came to play at the Barașeum, and it became a center of culture. As you know, in times of hardship, Jewish people find refuge in culture. They like the music, they like the theater, they like the musicals. So little by little, Barașeum survived. As Ronnie said, it survived first as a Romanian theater, and then after the war, it was supported, subsidized, like all theaters, by the Ministry of Culture, and became again an Yiddish theater. The actors were extraordinary, and the plays were very nice, and people were staying in line to go to the theater. Actually, there was the place where we gathered with our friends. I was young first, and I wanted to go to the theater, but the parents took me to the theater. Some of the actors started to immigrate to Israel, and little by little there were no more actors in the Jewish theater. Some of the actors were friends with my parents, and I remember them by name. And later on, I saw, for example, Dina Koenig and Leah Koenig in movies, Israeli movies, and it was really a big pleasure to see them, and a big pain to see how old they were. But so being so popular and being supported by the state and being a propaganda way of presenting the freedom expressed in the Yiddish culture in Romania, many Jewish actors were given jobs because they were sent to the Yiddish theater, and they were instructed how to pronounce and how to play. Every role was rehearsed. The father of my best friend was the instructor. His name was Shulem Launer. And he was the director of the Yiddish broadcast for Romanian radio. It wasn't a program we could listen to. It was just for the Western countries. It was a propaganda broadcast program. But for many years, he did years. Even after we left, and after his daughter left, he remained in Bucharest because he thought that his mission was so important that he needed to continue to teach these young actors, old actors, whoever needed to play in English. So going back to 1941, at the same time when all the actors were fired, all the teachers and the professors were fired. In Botoșani, where my husband at that time was a high school student, it was a difference in age between us. He was a student. His father, together with the father of Eli Rukenstein and other people, other fathers from the community, hired professors from the university to teach high school. So these people had a very important and interesting and good education. This doesn't mean that they were excused from mandatory work. They were 15 years old, they were wearing the yellow star, and every time a soldier saw them on the street, they pushed them to go to work. They pushed them whatever dirty work they found for them to humiliate them. So when they went at the university, my husband went, Mirel, I'll tell only his name, Mirel went to the Polytechnical Institute in Iași, and Eli Rukenstein went to the Polytechnical Institute in Bucharest. I'm going to take about Eli Rukenstein, and you will see, not because Mirel wasn't important, he became a very good mechanical engineer, and he had a very important position and jobs, and he was accomplished. But I want to talk about Eli Rukenstein. So he went to the Polytechnical Institute in Bucharest, and all the students from Bucharest didn't talk to him because he was Jewish. Only the people who came from far away, from different, only peasants, let's call them, because they were encouraged to go and study, talked to him and were friendly. He was brilliant. The professors were amazed about his abilities to not only to understand and to learn, but the way his mind was working to discover new things. So after graduation, they hired him as an assistant professor, and then as a what is after assistant professor? Well, the next, but not a professor. So he also, thank you. He also was writing papers at the same time. He got his PhD, but he never was promoted as a professor because he was Jewish and he wasn't a member of the Communist Party.
Did he survive?
Yes, and it's a very interesting story. That's why I wanted to say it very fast. So he wrote many papers which started to be published in prestigious journals. Associate professor, okay. He became associate professor, and his papers started to be published in the Western world and the most prestigious journals and the most prestigious magazines, and people from the Western countries were very curious to talk to him because he couldn't leave the country. So they came to Bucharest to talk to him, and he never was able to talk with anybody just by himself. He always had a chaperone to make sure that no political issues were discussed. Well, sure enough, he was invited in many places, in Paris, in England, in the Soviet Union, and he managed to get permission from time to time to get to symposiums, and he had interesting papers to present. And in 1969, Clarkson University got a grant from the Science Foundation and invited him for a position of visiting professor. And he was allowed to come, and he came with his wife. They had to leave their 2 children behind. One was 12 and the other was 14. And soon enough, he was offered a position with tenure at Clarkson University. And in a short time, people were competing for him. And he was offered a position with tenure at Houston University in Delaware, and in Buffalo. The dean of the department was bidding for it and offered him a faculty professorship with tenure, which a faculty professor is more than a university professor, is for the whole engineering, not only for chemical engineering. So he came to Buffalo. The story of getting his children here is very long and complicated and dramatic.
So maybe
but
we can do it another.
Absolutely. The point I wanted to make is that he distinguished himself. He got all the awards possible for his profession, and Clinton honored him with the National Medal of Science in the White House. And this is the best honor somebody can get. He was also inducted in the Academy of Science of United States. So this Jewish guy who was persecuted as a student and then as an academic in Romania, certainly later they wanted him to come to offer him everything in the world. In 93 he was given the honor of Doctor Honoris Causa, but I wanted just to give you an example of what happened. Now, I wanted to talk about some personal experiences, or we don't have time?
No, but thank you so very much. There's so
Well,
much.
I wanted to say something because this is important to me. We came here in 1970 in August. In October, I had my son, which was a miracle because in Romania told us that I couldn't have a child. And my son was born, and this was the most significant event in our life and still remains. So at that time, I started to feel comfortable here. In 8th of March, the rabbi read one of his new poems, and his poem was Roots to Grow With. And this made me think about our situation here. And I want to tell you that I grow deep roots. I am very well planted here, and I feel very good being an American Jew. But also what I wish and I hope the most is for my grandchildren, Sol and Mira, to feel confident and proud that they are Jewish, and never to take for granted this land. So this is what I wanted you to know.
Thank you so much, Melania. Thank you for sharing what you've shared, but especially for that wish for your grandchildren and for all of our grandchildren and for everybody. I want to thank Evie again for co-chairing with me, and thank Michael Berger for sponsoring this program that has been so enlightening each month, so fascinating.
I really want to mention I really wanted to mention something about a special Jewish woman who became, let me talk about Anna Pauker. Let me tell for 5 minutes. I want you to know about it. So the liberation of Romania fought first with the Germans and then with the Allies. And the liberation of Romania by the Russians, which was in 1944, and the first tanks arriving in Romania was Anna Pauker. And Anna Pauker was born in a Jewish Orthodox family. And at the age of 20 went to teach in Bucharest in a Jewish school. She married a Jewish man. Both of them got involved with the Communist Party. Many times she was arrested. She was exiled to Paris, came back, was arrested, Stalin made an exchange, and she went to Soviet Union, studied at the Lenin International Institute. She became a devoted communist. Stalin trusted her very much, so she had the honor to come to Bucharest to liberate Romania. Stalin wanted her to be the secretary of the party, which actually is the leader of the party. She declined. She said that needed to be a proletarian, not an intellectual. So the choice was for Gheorghe Gheorghiu-Dej, and she became the foreign ministry. And in 1947, she was the first woman foreign minister in the world. In 1948, Life magazine had the cover story about her. She was on the cover, and they said that she was the most powerful woman in the world. What happened and what she did in Romania, you may read for yourself, or it's another story. But really, I wanted you to know about this Jewish woman.
Thank you. I'm so glad you did. I want to make sure that it was perfect. I want to make sure I thank Zach Rosenblum from Bloomin' Rose for the catering. We know how much we all enjoy the foods that we've had at Oneg after each one of these, and Romanian food is definitely going to thrill you as well. I want to make sure I thank all of you for being such marvelous supporters of this program. To the rabbi who is at a simcha, and to Cantor Frank. Cantor Frank has brought so much to this program, and we see it getting even more. The depth you bring is fabulous. One of the things that each of us can do is thank her, not just in person, but there's that Cantor's discretionary fund. It makes a difference, guys, it does. And so it helps us continue this, but it also helps us show how much we love and appreciate her, and especially after the Megillah according to Barbie, which was so fabulous. On May 3rd, we're going to explore the Jews of Iraq, and on June 7th, Take out your calendars, make sure you write it down. We are so excited to be hosting Gerard Edery. He's a singer and a guitarist, a recording artist, internationally known, and he's going to help us conclude this year's program. Evie and I have both heard from a number of congregants who have loved this program and asked us to continue it for next year. And so we are looking to do that. And what I'd like to do is ask all of you, if you are from a background that has not been represented yet, talk to the rabbi, talk to Evie, talk to me, and we'll make it happen, because every one of us has something important to bring. I want to thank you all again, and let's continue to fill our passports and our ears with music, and our tummies and our hearts with the joy of being Jewish from around the world.
I want you to know that Eli Rugenstein has a memorial plaque on our wall.
Thank you. This was an amazing program. Page 371 for the Mishaberach. On our list today, I have Dan Abels, Andrea Adler, John Binder, Alan and Karen Cooper, Jamie Delaney, Joe Dinky, Gloria Fine, Sue Frank, Barbara Freda, Marianne Friedman, Carolyn and Ernie Grosser, Maya Ruth Corin Matlock, Jim Kiles, Miles Levy, Jenna Metzer, Dana Moore, Aaron Neffler, Judy Osowitz, Shannon Perry, Marty Ralabate, Dwight Reed, Cheryl Rossi, Brandon Ryan, Linda Weiss, Jeffrey Smith, Gail Willig Smith, Einav Simons, Emily Tall, Rex Tarman, Mike Wheeler, Shmuel ben Miriam, Hinda Sarah bat Rochel, Shoshana bat Liba, Hannah Ezra ben Shuel, Hanalea bat Abraham Sarah, Liba bat Rachel, Shoshana bat Liba. I'd ask you to just pronounce the name of anyone that you're thinking of right now. We're not going to do raised hands. We'll just say their names out loud. If you want to stand, you're welcome to. Jill Klinger and Anita Klinger. We turn to page 371 for the Mishaberach. Please rise as we turn to page 586 for the Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabbat, hagod malchot, l'atit yidurah. מעשה בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הרצון, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו בהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. אנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, קדוש ברוך הוא. Page 591. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו Well, why don't you just remain standing, and we will go right to the Kaddish. If you're not comfortable standing, don't worry. You're okay to sit. It's just personal choice. Of course, we've just heard earlier in the service about Ruth Lansing, who was getting to her 106th birthday. Yeah, I think she was, I'm sorry if I'm wrong, but maybe 5 months away or 6 months away from her 106th birthday, and has also amazing stories, of course, from the Holocaust, one of our survivors. Shiva, we have Boris Greenberg and Naomi Mincer. Shaloshim, we're honoring Charles Jeffrey Cohen, Andrew Feldman, Charlotte Krebs, Susan Kushner, John Bruce Lubell, Aaron Olashansky, Jane Louise Ruslander, Glenn Shapiro, Sardar Singh, and Norma Unher. Yortzites this evening, that means it's the anniversary of their demise, their death, and we do this every year after year at the anniversary of their time of death. And we are honoring this week Jerome Abelson, Mark Baginski, Bessie Berman, Fritz Bleichfeld, Helen Bloom, Morris Bach, Richard Bach, Rolane Fogelman, Faye M. Freudenheim, Gary Friedfertig, Ralph Gefsky, Lester Glickman, Eleanor Hanan, William Heitner, Bessie Lane, Dorothy German Nurko, Mark Mugelberg, Sydney M. Olson, Ethel R. Pausner, Freda Rakis, Levian Bert Reich, Rosa Rothstein, Daryl Evan Shepard, Samuel Sherman, Rebecca Soltz, Clara Deander, and Betty D. Tufts. We will remain standing if it is in your custom, and we turn to page 598 now to pronounce the mourner's Kaddish. 598. Yitgadal v'yikadash shmei Rabbah bi'alma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael ba'agala ubizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehe shmei Rabbah mevarach leolam ulalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shemei dekudesha brichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata Damiram bi'alma vimru amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael vimru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu yaseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. Before you sit down, is there anyone else's name that you're thinking of this evening that you want to mention? Just don't raise your hands. Just pronounce their name. Okay, thank you. You may be seated. We call up Bruce, who has some announcements. And then we go right into these, after the Motzi, we go right into the social hall, and we are going to be entertained by the Dosenko brothers with Romanian music and Romani music.
Shabbat Shalom again, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you to Melania for sharing such really interesting information this evening. Thank you to Evie and Ronnie and the entire committee for all of your hard work. Thank you to Michael Berger for sponsoring Jews of all Hues. And thank you especially for finally coming up with a way to match the country's name and the person's name. Melania, Romania. It went together. They tried it once before. We did Ukraine, couldn't find Jane. They asked me to do Belarus. I said, I could talk about it, but I'm not from Belarus, so it didn't work. Anyway, thank you to all of you. Mark Sloan wanted me to mention that Melania's personal story, as the cantor mentioned, or as Ronnie mentioned, is on our YouTube channel. There's a link to it right on the front page of the website. And Ruth Lansing's story of Crystal Knock is also there. So memories are on our website. Thank you to Evie and Barry Weinstein for serving as our service greeters this evening. And thank you to Cantor Frank and Ivan and Gregory Dachenko for making us feel like we were in Romania this evening. By the way, Gregory was up here behind, you probably didn't see him, but we actually let Gregory come into the sanctuary this month. Usually we wait till we're in the social hall
I
for him.
couldn't resist having him for those
Absolutely.
two songs.
It took us to Romania. A lot of stuff coming up real quick. Tomorrow morning, Torah study, 9 a.m. in person at Temple Beth Tzedek, also available via their Zoom. Shabbat morning service, 11 o'clock at Canterbury Woods. The Rabbi's Intro to Shir Shalom service. Intro to Shir Shalom Friday night services class will resume next Friday night at 6:30. All this month, our Tikkun Olam team is collecting non-perishable food again. This is for Tiger's Den Food Pantry, so please make a contribution, make a donation whenever you're here this month. If we can help feed those less fortunate, it's a wonderful thing. Shavuos, speaking of food, Shavuos is back on Tuesday, April 16th. Be sure to take part in that. Thank you to our many volunteers as well. I want to add a name to the thank yous from last week for the burial of our prayer books. So I want to say thank you to Mitch Steinhorn of Amherst Memorial Chapel and Michael Austin, president of Elm Lawn Cemetery, for letting us do that there, for assisting with that. Next Friday, Erev Shabbat service, 7 o'clock p.m. The Oneg Shabbat will be sponsored by Jennifer and Robert Kopf in honor of the bar mitzvah of their son, Adam. I mentioned we have a lot coming up this weekend. Tomorrow night, Spring Fest. That begins at 7 o'clock p.m. Food, drinks, music, dancing. It'll be a lot of fun. Those of you that made your reservations, we look forward to seeing you there. We have a pretty nice turnout planned. Sunday morning, men's group is meeting with guest speakers Blaine Schwartz, Rob Goldberg, who will talk about the Federation trip to the United Arab Emirates. This is the talk that was postponed from previously. And then Sunday afternoon at 2:30, join us for a musical hug from Israel. You'll learn about the music of Israel since October 7th. Tickets are $10 each, can be purchased on our website or at the door. Snacks will be served. Monday, we have the eclipse. We will be out here in the parking lot. Please join us if you want to be with your temple family for this once-in-a-lifetime event. It all gets underway at 2. It's not a formal program by any stretch of the imagination. It's just a chance for us to get together and have some light snacks, sun chips, moon pies, stuff like that. And we will have solar glasses for solar eclipse classes for the first 100 people. If you have them, please bring them. And then you can get here as early as 1:30 and wait in the parking lot. But the quote festivities begin at 2 o'clock. Our Passover second night Seder, Tuesday, April 23rd, that is at 6 o'clock p.m., led by, of course, the rabbi and cantor, and catered this year by Bloom and Rose, which is really nice. Reservation forms are located outside the temple office. It's going to be nice to be back in our building for a community Seder. Sisterhood Shabbat is Friday, May 10th. That's at 7 o'clock p.m. If you'd like to take part, oh, Jill's here, good. If you'd like to take part in the service, talk to Jill, because she's going to be honchoing the whole thing. If you need anything, please feel free to reach out to the rabbi, the cantor, Todd, who is, even as we speak, flying into town for Springfest, or myself, Joanne. Call Joanne anytime, day or night. She's fine with it. Robert will kill me. And please join us in the social hall for an oneg of Romanian food, sponsored by Michael Berger and catered by Bloom and Rose. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Would you hold up that nice challah there? We're not having a closing hymn because we got plenty of music in the next room. We're going right to Motzi and then Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. B'tei Avon. Thank you, everyone. Everyone is welcome to the social hall. Yeah. Good job. Thank you.